Check out Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus. Available to use online, at ATMs, or even down the local. Paddy Power, you beauty.
Hello and welcome to the Monday Postcast. I'm Maddie Plough and I'm joined by Tom Siegel, Stuart Riley and Paul Binfield from Paddy Power. We've had a bumper weekend. We've had the Oaks, the Derby, everything in between. We're going to go back to the Derby and we're going to look forward to the Irish equivalent because a lot of them seem to be going that way. What do we think, first off, Stuart, of the Epsom version? Did the best horse win on Saturday? Where do you think Wings of Eagles will end up? I think he might be going to the Ledger now. It's been muted.
Yeah, he strikes as a Ledger type, doesn't he? I wasn't massively blown away by the Derby. I think it'll throw up more juvenile hurdlers than it will Group 1 winners. I think the best horse on the day certainly won. He may not prove the best horse in time. There's some lighter raced, more progressive types in there who are open to a bit more improvement than him. But it was a decent performance. The race didn't fall apart quite in the way you thought it might have for him to win. He produced a very respectable performance against the... all you can do is beat the opposition, and he did that, and I think they're all a bit much of a muchness. I don't think there's a standout amongst them, but they're decent horses. The horses in behind him, you've got Cracksmen, you've got Cliffs of Moher, and you've got Eminent. They're the right ones, you know.
Yes, yeah, I was going to say that. I think maybe being slightly harsh, maybe he should have beaten Cliffs of Moher at Chester. I know a lot of people said he was given quite an easy ride, and I agree with you. I think they were all
races, wasn't it?
But they were all in the, like you say, all the good horses came to the fore, which is what you like to see. Tom, we'll go over to you and get your reflections on the Derby at Epsom, and then we'll go to Paul and look forward to the Irish version. But first, what did you make of the Derby?
Yeah, I've been through this like with a fine tooth comb about 50 times now, Maddie. And I thought I don't know what to think. I've been through it, and I've been through it, and I've been through it, and I cannot work it out for the life of me. It seemed to me that they went too quick and set it up for the finishers. For that reason, I don't know about Wings of Eagles. He was a 40-1 shot. He's won one race in his life before that. I'm not having him down as an outstanding winner, but what do you do? I mean, I thought the fact that he got hampered a couple of times actually helped him. I thought he got his breath back. I think the key to all horse races, or good horse races, is efficient energy use, isn't it? And I think quite a lot of them didn't I can't say it, and use their energy efficiently. He did. I mean, I think the fact that he got hampered at the start and he got hampered up the straight probably gave him time to fill his lungs up. He's clearly a good stayer. He's a strong stayer. Would I back him to beat Cracksman, Cliffs of Moher, Eminent, Ben Battle again? Probably not. Probably not if he was to, obviously it all depends on the price. But you can only do what you can do, can't you? And he won a Derby going away in the style of a strong stayer. So that's all. I can't think of anything more to add, really.
Yeah, I one of my good friends, she's a photographer and she was working at the Derby, and she said she's got some great shots of how it was quite a messy race in the closing stages, and we both discussed and we thought that Wings of Eagles had quite a clear run, although he did get hampered. Obviously coming down the outside, he avoided some of that. The likes of Eminent and Cracksman are probably going to improve again off those runs. Paul, what did you make of the Derby, and how do you bet for the Irish equivalent?
Well, Maddie, I think I should be an odds compiler. I looked at this before we came up with the odds this morning. I thought Cracksman is the one for me. We make him 5-2 favourite. Valgeist's second in the French equivalent yesterday, 7-2. Wings of Eagles, 7-2. Eminent 9-2, and Cliffs of Moher, who probably will go to the Eclipse, 6-1, and it's 10 bar.
Right, and have you got any thoughts on how the Derby went?
Yeah, I think the horse to take out of it is Cracksman. I'm pretty unanimous with the other guys. On the day, Wings of Eagles was the best horse, but possibly not later on. Cracksman, I said all along I didn't fancy him on Saturday because they didn't get the run in the Dante into him because of soft ground. John Gosden, an absolute master, but perhaps, I've seen it at York before, that the Dante meeting and the Ebor meetings, you often get heavy rain for some reason there. When Paddy was going up there with Soul Power all those times, the number of times they got hindered by heavy rain the night before was a number, and I think Cracksman will come on come on most from the race, and I really fancy him at the Curragh.
Oh dear,
Right.
Paul, I've got to jump in there.
For it.
You fancy one of those? We're going to have Team Ballydoyle in the Irish Derby. They win it every year. There's going to be 7 of them. They'll all be teaming up on Cracksmen.
Yeah.
I did some research on this the other day, and if you run more than one in a race, your chances of winning relative to your SP goes vastly up. I mean, they're gonna be running like a team to get Cracksman beat. He's going to have to be exceptionally good to sort of overcome it. He might be, but I was quite surprised one of the Ballydoyle ones isn't favourite at the moment. I'm surprised at that, but there we go. I mean, you're the odds compilers.
So I'm jumping in again on you now, Tom. A lot of people I think someone asked me, they said, do you think they would have preferred Cliffs of Moher to win, obviously from a stud perspective? And I thought, yeah, they would. But obviously now they've won the English version. Maybe if they do go Irish Derby with Wings of Eagles, surely the incentive will be there to get him to do the double. So that could be quite an interesting angle. We've covered Cracksmen. Has anyone got any Derby runners that they would really like to take out the race? Maybe that came, that finished a bit further back. I've mentioned Eminent, and I think Cracksmen, I'm with you. But I think Eminent, he was a bit squeezed, and I think it looks like he'll go to the Curragh, and that should suit him well. Douglas MacArthur was another one. Stu, have you anything catch your eye behind, or do you just think it was all much of a muchness?
Yeah, I'm not impressed by any of them. I think Douglas MacArthur is the horse to take out of the race.
Really?
I thought he went a right good gallop in front.
Well,
it
he was essentially just a pacemaker, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I don't think he's a decent horse in his own right. He won the Derrinstown, didn't he? And he's the sort of horse that the pace he went early on, and it was in the uphill section of the race right at the beginning. He was ludicrously fast through the first part of the race. They did actually get, I think it was Colm on him, wasn't it? He got a breather into him coming down and round the hill, which helped him see out the finish. But you look where everything else that was prominent and up with him, like the Anvil was second last. Anything else that was prominent faded back. The winners come from second last or third last, was 15 lengths off him coming down the hill. He's only been beaten 5 lengths. I think if he was allowed to run on his own merits, he's up to, punching his way in Group 2s, Group 3s, in an age-limited Group 1, definitely. But when these lot take on older horses, they're not going to be winning anything.
Really, you think so? That's the thing with a lot of Ballydoyle horses, isn't it? It's just which ones that they want to put in a position to be able to win. So maybe Douglas MacArthur, I mean, he could be destined for pacemaking duties forevermore now. You just don't know, do you?
I think you get these types that there's 2 things that happen with them. One, they then tend to keep them in training at 4 and at 5 and let them win races then. But the other thing with it is you need a horse. If you're going to have a horse as a pacemaker, it's got to be something that is capable of scaring people. Douglas MacArthur, when he turned in and he straightened up and he kept going,
he really didn't fold, did he?
He didn't.
Kept right there.
He was still leading until there was just over a furlong to go was when they caught him. And it's that thing of, you think, oh, he's gone off, he's gone too quick, and then you turn in and he's not coming back, and then you start going after him and you're not gaining on him too quickly. And at the 2 furlong pole, he would have caused them to panic, and you need a good enough horse to do that. So, I think Douglas MacArthur is capable of winning decent races.
Tom, just to clarify, was it just Cracksman for you that you'd take out of it, or did anything else in behind strike you as a horse to follow next time?
No, Cliffs of Moher. I love him. I think he's the best horse in the race myself. I was talking about efficient.
Did you think he stayed?
No, I don't know, but it's a different thing. It's a different thing, Epsom to the Curragh. The Epsom is a if they go too fast, it's like the Kentucky Derby. If you go too fast in a Kentucky Derby or an Epsom Derby, it sets up for one of them out the back. It happens happens a lot. Erhard, Lamtara, all those horses going back from the years. They never looked the best horse through the race, but they ended up winning. Now, not to say, obviously those 2 horses, well, Erhard didn't win anything afterwards, but Lamtara went on to be a brilliant horse. I just thought if Ryan had it again, he probably made his ground up at the wrong time. If he'd held on to him a bit longer, I think he would have probably won. Cracksman was probably too inexperienced to do himself justice. There was a few in behind that I thought.
I like the way Cracksman picked up when Cliffs of Moher came to him. At a furlong pole, you thought he was going to be beaten a length or so.
The thing about these Frankles,
he was off the bridle quite a long way out as well, Cracksman. I think it was just all about the experience for him. He was very, very immature.
I've got a theory about these Frankles. I think they're really strong stayers.
Yeah, we've touched on this, haven't we, Tom? Yeah, I agree.
I don't think they pick up. I don't think they've got great turn turn of foot, any of them. I haven't seen it in any of them. Like Eminent, like Cracksman, they're sort of big lolloping gallopers that keep going. I think he's going to get better as he gets on Cracksman. I think he, if they ever ran him in St. Ledger, I think he'd have a massive chance. Whether they think he's too good for that, I don't know. But I think the Curragh will suit him and Cliff Samoa a lot better than Wings of Eagles. You watch the Curragh year in, year out. It's very, very difficult, if the ground's fast, to make up lots of ground on that flat track at the Curragh. Epsom's totally different. You go fast, you can come from anywhere. In fact, it obviously helped Wings of Eagles to be out the back in the Derby this year. I don't know the sectionals, I don't know anything about it, but clearly those who were held up out the back had an advantage in the Derby. Now, that very rarely happens at the Curragh. He's going to have to run a totally different race to win at the Curragh than he did at Epsom. For me, I would run Cliff Samoa there if I were him. I think I read this morning he was going for the Eclipse, but I think he's worth another crack at 1.5 miles. Whether he quite stays, I'm not sure, but I'd give him another crack at the Irish Derby before I took on the older horses.
Yeah, I wouldn't be so sure to sort of say he definitely doesn't stay 1.5 miles yet. Right.
Well, just going back though, he was beaten 3/4 of a length, wasn't he? He was beaten.
Yeah,
what?
exactly.
He was beaten 0.25 of a second. You know, to
It's
say
mad,
that he couldn't win, in another circumstance.
There was only one horse that finished stronger as well. You know,
Of course there is.
Yeah, exactly.
He was scything them down.
Anyway, before we get rolling on more Derby talk, we'll go back to Epsom and the Oaks in a second. But first, it's competition time. As you know, every Monday we offer listeners and viewers a chance to win a £25 or €25 bet, courtesy of our sponsors, Paddy Power. Today's question is, funnily enough, we've just finished talking about him, who finished second behind Wings of Eagles in the Derby? Tweet your answer using the hashtag Postcast for your chance to win the free bet. Good luck.
Introducing Paddy Power's Hot Trot Jackpot, their new free-to-enter horse racing competition. Every Saturday, pick 5 horses in a free Lucky 31 bet for your chance to win the guaranteed £10,000 jackpot. T&Cs apply. 18+ BeGambleAware.org.
Hello and welcome back to the Monday Postcast. I'm Maddie Playle. I'm joined by Tom Siegel, Stuart Riley and Paul Binfield. We've covered the Derby. We're going to look back to the Oaks now, which was a very, very dramatic race. But as I wrote in a piece that me and Stu did yesterday, I think the race itself definitely delivered. It was no sort of dramatic build-up and then a letdown. I thought it was an excellent race. We will go to you first, Stu. What did you make of Enable's Oaks win? And comparing it to the Derby, do you think it was stronger, weaker? What did you make of it?
I think it was a considerably weaker race as a whole. There was 11 lengths back to the third, and I think you had 12 horses in the Derby field within 11 lengths of the winner. I mean, that also ties up with the fact I think the Derby field were much of a muchness. I think the Oaks, the first two, have separated themselves from the others, and they look very good horses. I think Enabled is definitely very good, no question. I would be slightly concerned about saying she's a world beater and she can take on all the colts and give them a beating just yet. I'd like to see her against the fillies again. I just think with Rhododendron, she's may well have been caught up a bit physically this year. I've just not been blown away by her. That's twice now she's come into a race of very warm order, and twice now she's been beaten. I think Ryan was at pains to look after her. He teased her into the race coming down the hill. When he went for her, it was more asking the question than telling her what to do. He gave her a little backhander. He pulled the whip through, gave her one crack, put it down.
I'm loving this sort of like G1 jockey style demo you're giving on the couch.
And I think I think Ryan just knew either she was feeling something or she didn't have it in her legs. She was out on her feet.
But we will mention the fact that we had they had all sorts of transport issues. We will mention that later on. So that could be something to bear in mind. But you definitely think he was going easy on her.
I think he was looking after her I think Ryan knew that either he was running her empty or she was feeling it. He didn't ask her too many questions, and when he tried to ask her as well, she didn't pick up, and that's one she does pick up. So I don't think it was peak Rhododendron that we saw, right. And therefore, I don't. And she was eased down, so I think that Enable's a very good horse, but I wouldn't go saying she's a brilliant horse for beating Enable for beating Rhododendron 5 lengths in an Oaks.
Right, very comprehensive, interesting. Slightly different angle. I'm not saying he went easy on it. I think she definitely stayed. I don't think there was any argument about that from my camp. I think Enable is just
definitely
relentless.
argue with you there.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Anyway, before we open that can of worms, Tom, what did you make of the Oaks?
I think she's brilliant. I think she's absolutely. I think she'd thrash the Colts and Abel. I think if I was.
I think she is just relentless. That's the word that comes to mind.
If I was Khaled Abdullah or Teddy Grimthorpe, I would be running her in the Irish Derby, and I wouldn't even have a second thought about it. And I'm hoping Paul will tell me what price she'd be for the Irish Derby, because I'm tempted.
We'll pause you there, Tom. Paul, can we get some betting for the Irish Oaks and the Derby if
Forget
Abel's
the Oaks,
in it?
she'd win that. But what about the Derby, Paul?
We haven't got her in the.
Get her in there. What do you reckon?
We do need to, don't we? If you've
Johnny
got
G's not afraid of throwing the big dice, is he?
Rolling the big dice.
I'd go around 4. I guess at about 4-1, Tom.
Yeah, look, listen. I don't know whether she's going to run in there. I have no feeling about that at all. And they've got Cracksmen, so they might well just go for the Irish Oaks. But I think she's exceptional. I thought the way everything went for her on Friday, just thought she went through the race really well. I thought the two of them are really, really good. She's only had 3 runs. This is her 4th run on Saturday. She's got plenty. She's a massive, great big thing. Frankie came off afterwards saying that she's only halfway there. I think she could be one of those superstar fillies, staying fillies to Gruder that went on to beat the older horses and colts. A Salsabil, a Balanchine that went to the Irish Derby. It'd be great if she went there, because I think the Irish Oaks would be a walkover for her. But if she went to the Derby, it'd be great for the sport, because we'd have a proper race then, and we could watch the girls beat up the boys.
Yeah,
I think they've the best Abdullah filly in her own yard, is she?
I think she is now.
Well, we'll see shutter speed, but I think for an Abel, they've mentioned the King George and races like the Ark, and me and Stu were talking about it yesterday with the fillies allowance, how she could just make an absolute mockery of it.
Well, they do it year in, year out, don't they? So fillies have a brilliant record in these big races against the.
You look at the Ark; it's quite remarkable, really. 3-year-old fillies, especially in recent years, their records. So I wouldn't be putting you off. Paul, have you got any prices for the Ark, just quickly?
For the Ark, yes, we certainly have. So we go 6-1 Almanzor favourite, Minding 8-1, along with an Abel and Bramato, who was impressive yesterday.
We'll touch on him, yeah.
9-1 Satono Diamond, 10 Jacobs, Kitterson Black, and 14 Bar.
See, there we go. He's agreeing with us. He's agreeing with us. The only 3-year-old in there. Well, he's got the only 3-year-old. He's got Bramato and Enable. There's no colt from the Derby anywhere to be seen. So basically, your odds compilers are saying, Paul, that you think that the Oaks was better than the Derby.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear Stuart say that he thought the Derby was better than the Oaks. I think we saw 2 exceptional horses in Enable and Rhododendron. The vibes beforehand were that Rhododendron was unbeatable, and Enable beat her by 5 lengths. John Gosden said afterwards, she's as good as I've had since to Gruder, and that one won a King George, 2nd in a Yorkshire Oaks and 3rd to Trev in the Ark. So I agree with you, Tom. I think it was an absolutely brilliant race, and she would go well in the Irish Derby, but I'd like to see her in the King George, try and emulate to Gruder.
I think that's the way that they'll be inclined to go. Moving on from the Oaks, what else did we see that really impressed us on Friday or over the weekend? We had the French Derby on Sunday as well. I'm a big fan of Bramato. I think he's about 8-1 for the Ark, isn't he? Something like that. I think he's exceptional. Stu, we'll go to you first. Anything that really caught your eye over the weekend?
Yeah, plenty impressed me. I thought Laugh Aloud was very impressive. She's, vastly better than a Group 3 filly. Ruth Carr impressed me yet again. She's remarkable. The way she breathes life into these older horses. She works them. She doesn't put them up a gallop. She works them round in circles in a lunging ring in pairs.
Really? See, I didn't know this.
And that's how she gets them. That's how she gets them fit. That's how she gets them enjoying themselves. They think they're playing with their friend, and they work round in circles. It's how she gets them to be so competitive as well. That's why they keep finding at the end of races. And she blew my socks off. I think the whole Ballydoyle team were seriously impressive. You think to arrive less than an hour before a Group 1 after a hellish journey and still get Highland Reel out to win. They're consummate
professionals, aren't they?
Well, they are, but they've got jockeys capable of winning the Derby as work riders. That's how good a setup they are. And I was impressed by the whole lot of them.
Can I jump in there?
I was coming to you. Patience.
I don't understand Ballydoyle as far as, I find their tactics unfathomable. You know, when See the Stars won the Derby, they went as slow. You know, they dominated the race by going slowly and setting it up for a fast horse. Then they come to the Oaks and they go as fast as they can to set it up for the Stayer and Able. Then they go absolutely bonkers in a Derby and. You know, whatever you say, it was a 40-1 shot by Pourmoire. I can't believe that was top of their. It looks like they do exactly the opposite to what everyone else thinks they're going to do. Maybe that's their tactic.
Are you second guessing Ballydoyle?
No, I'm not second guessing. Yes, I am. I am.
No,
I don't
I'm
understand
not.
them.
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
Make your mind up.
I blimmin' well am. I just think their tactics are upside down. I really, really do. I don't think they meant to win the Derby with the horse they won,
No.
and I think they lost a chance of winning the Oaks. I'm not saying she could have won the Oaks Rhododendron because I don't think she'll ever beat Enable, but they lost. They didn't give themselves a chance of winning it, and they knew Enable was a strong stayer because they'd been to Chester and got beaten by her there, so they knew everything about Enable, and yet they set the race up for her when they had a horse stepping up for a mile in the race. For me, their tactics sometimes are unfathomable. They're obviously the best organisation in the world, probably ever, but sometimes they get things wrong. Everyone gets things wrong.
I think their default tactic
Is it just go as fast as you can and the best horse will win?
If they go hard, they think the cream will rise to the crop, and
that's
they
what I was
didn't
gonna
have
say.
the cream. But
Well, I get that, but you only do it if you're playing into the hands of the opposition.
But by running Wings of Eagles, you know, they have these horses that, like you say, he's only ever won one race before, but they know the possibilities that, you know, they're going to get beaten. I mean, was it something like Windsor Castle or something beat at St Nicholas Abbey when he was pacemaking once or something like that? They are obviously aware
Hold
that
on a
these
minute, they
things
could have
can
won
happen.
the Derby with Cliffs of Moher.
Well,
They
yeah.
could have won it. They could have won it with their
do you-
Galileo horse.
do you think they genuinely fancied Cliffs of Moher as a world beater? Because I mean,
No,
he
of course
wasn't
they
didn't.
back,
There we go.
so
Of course
I
they
think,
didn't.
You know, I think they hedged their bets a bit. I agree totally with what you're saying with the
Course they
Rhododendron
didn't.
race. They should have, for Rhododendron, they should have made that as slow a race as possible. And
Well,
set
hindsight
it
is
up
a
for a quick
beautiful
Yeah, but
thing.
I get that. I get this, guys. But you got to remember that often they go slow, didn't they? When See the Stars won, they had Fame and Glory in the race, who went on to win an Ascot Gold Cup, and they went as slow as they possibly could.
Hindsight here.
No, it's not hindsight. It's the truth.
Well, they didn't know he was going to win an Ascot Gold
Of
Cup
course
when
they
he
didn't,
finished
but they-
second in a Derby,
But
did they?
they knew See the Stars had won the Guineas. They knew
Well,
that.
this
They knew
is
they had
true.
they knew that the fastest horse in the race was not theirs, and yet they went slow. And in the Rhododendron race, they knew they had the fastest filly and went really fast.
Right, you've had your rant.
That's
You've
madness.
had your rant. Shush, I'm taking back control. Poor Paul. We'll go back to Paul and say, what was your opinion on the weekend? And did anything catch your eye? Anything being really well backed in the aftermath, Paul?
Well, I think Stuart's already mentioned Sovereign Debt. I think Porrig Beggy was the story that came out of the Derby, but for me, Sovereign Debt was a fantastic story, a third successive win for Ruth Carr, and we've actually put him into the Queen Anne betting today at 20-1 because they have mentioned that they might supplement him for the race. On a sadder note, let's not forget David Nichols did really well with the horse, and
Indeed, yeah.
sadly he passed away. He trained him to finish second in a Group 2 in Ireland last year, and my condolences go out to David's family.
Yeah, indeed. Our thoughts are all with them. And on that note, we'll take a quick break.
Get instant access to your winnings with Cashcard Plus, Paddy's brand new card, available to use at ATMs, online or in shops. T&Cs apply. 18 plus. Gambleaware.co.uk.
Okay, we've already mentioned the King George somewhat. No one's actually mentioned Highland Real in the Coronation Cup. I know he's a horse that you're very keen on. Stu, do you think he can win back-to-back King Georges? Before I go to you, you're taking a breath, we'll go to Paul and get King George betting. We've had the Arc betting. Let's have some King George betting.
Yeah, Highland Real is 5-2 favourite, Maddie. Was 7-2 favourite before the Coronation Cup win. Then John Gosden, strong hand. Jack Hobbs, 4-1. Enable, 5-1. 7-1 Ulysses. 8 Frontiersman. 10 Dartmouth. And it's 12 Bar.
Right, excellent. We'll go across to you first. Stu, quickly, what do you make of the King George? Do you think Highland Real can win it again?
I think he can, but it depends on who turns up against him. You look at the race last year.
that.
Well, no, but what I mean is you look at the race last year, right? He beat Wings of Desire, Dartmouth, Sir Isaac Newton, Erupt, Western Hymn and Second Step. They've won 5 races between them since, all at listed or Group 2 level, except for Erupt won a Grade 1 over in Canada, right?
Yeah,
that was not a peak King George. That wasn't what the race could be. You've got Jack Hobbs and Abel Almanzor in there in the betting against him. He's favourite because he's almost certain to turn up, and there's question marks about all 3 of them.
Almanzor, Jack Hobbs, Seventh Heaven, all unlikely to actually make the race, as far as I'm aware.
I would half expect Jack Hobbs to be there, but yeah, I think if any of those 3 turn up, they'll give him a much harder race than he had last year. He deserves to be favourite because he's the most likely runner, but I can definitely see his colours getting lowered, and it has the potential to be a cracker, but it also, we saw last year, it can cut up a bit and be a Group 2 and a Group 1 only in name.
Right, Tom, I know you can waffle on. We haven't got long left. This is your pre-warning, so make it quick. Go, King George.
I think that Frontiersman's interesting. I thought, in watching the Coronation Cup on Friday, he just hated the track. He came from miles back. It was the only horse to make up any ground from the back. The time was really good, but Ryan obviously got the fractions right somewhere along the line, and I thought he did really well to finish where he did. Now, we're going to see him in the Hardwick. I'm not convinced he's that robust a horse, so I'd like to see him run round Ascot first. He's never been there before, but I think he's interesting, and I'm a big fan of Ulysses too, so I wouldn't be backing Highland Reel, not at this stage.
Okay, just a reminder, on Tuesday we'll be doing our Royal Ascot Anti-Post Postcast, so make sure you join us for that. Who is your Royal Ascot banker, Stu?
Penhill. When he won at Cheltenham, Willie Mullins was saying he could be a Melbourne Cup horse. And so if he's a Melbourne Cup horse, you see how much he's improved over hurdles for stepping up markedly in trip. He was racing over 1.5 miles when he was on the flat. If he goes for the Ascot Stakes or the Queen Alexandra, he could be thrown in off his old mark. Very true. Mullins is an absolute genius with these dual-purpose horses. Tom, Royal Ascot banker.
Oh, blimey, now you got me. I thought that, this is not a banker by any stretch of the imagination. Well, if I had a banker, it would be Winter in the Coronation Stakes. But horse that ran at Epsom on Friday, Juanito Chico, if it got in the Britannia, I think would be a really, really interesting horse for that. I think it's only rated about 80. Well, it'll go up, £8 for what it did on Epsom. So if it could get into the Britannia, I think that's the type of horse that could go really well.
Yeah, fantastic. I like Brother Bear in the Coventry. I think you can get about 6 to 1 about him. I think he's a good shot. Paul, what do you reckon? Have you got a Royal Ascot banker for us?
Yeah, well, first of all, Maddie, we're proud to have every Royal Ascot race priced up now.
Fantastic.
I'm going for Laugh Aloud of John Gosden. Thought she was very, very good at Epsom the other day. We went 2 to 1 favourite from 16 to 1, and I gave the price to John Lees, your chief reporter, and he laughed and said that's some cut, and I think she deserved it, to be honest.
John Lees laughing at you. Disgrace. No, right. Quick reminder of our competition to win the free £25 or €25 bet. Who finished second behind Wings of Eagles in the Derby? Tweet your answer using #Postcast. And don't forget that Royal Ascot Anti-Post Postcast tomorrow. Before we leave, I've got some really rapid, quick-fire Twitter Q&A questions. Graham Woods says, is Albuquerque better than Bramato over 10 furlongs? What do we reckon over the French pair of horses? We've not had time to mention the French Derby much. Stu, let's go across to you. What did you make?
I was very impressed with the French Derby. I'd be taking the first 3 out of the French Derby against the first 3 out of the Epsom Derby, definitely.
Right, okay. And has anyone got any early opinions on the Arc? Tom, is it enable for you?
Well, yeah, we're very early, aren't we? I mean, Bramato's an interesting horse.
That's our style.
Isn't
That's
it?
what we do.
I'm a big Enable fan. I'll be keeping with her until she's beat.
Okay.
Almanzor.
Right, well, we'll see if he can get back or not. Thank you very much for joining us on this Monday Postcast. I've been Maddie Plough. I've been joined by Tom Siegel, Stuart Riley and Paul Binfield.
Check out Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus, available to use online, at ATMs or even down the local. Paddy Power, you beauty.